What's going on, guys? It's Nick here, back with another video. Today's video, we'll be going over the running backs with the highest risk grades according to my model. The model looks at a number of different factors, but mostly competition for touches, injury concern, your age, your draft capital, how good your offense is, and a few more things. Now, it should make sense that risk just goes up as you move throughout the draft, right? Earlier picks are generally safer, a little more risky in the middle, and then by the late rounds, they're all risky because if they weren't risky, they'd be going in the early and middle rounds. So obviously, a bunch of late round picks are going to be risky, but the guys I go over are going to have the highest risk rate. So I tried to pick the people who are all at the top of the model. Remember, as a general strategy, we look for running backs early. We look for wide receivers kind of in the middle rounds, and then quarterback, tight end, defense, we knock those out late. So we're typically only getting 1 to 2 running backs with these late round picks, and that's why I make this video, because you only have so many chances, right? If you're only taking one running back late, you want to make sure it's the right running back. So we'll go over a few of the guys that you could take. Before we start, a reminder, you can see my complete list of targets, avoids, a bunch of different other information at our website, thefantasyfootballadvice.com. And also, it's June now, so the May giveaway is over, but now the June giveaway begins, of course. We're going to be doing this every single month, thanks to our friends at Pristine Auction. I don't know who the signed jersey is going to be of this month. We'll have to figure that out. Last month, it was Deontay Johnson, maybe someone a little bit more well-known this month, but we really want to do that for Deontay. So, stat of the day time. Yesterday's stat was which two running backs led the league in red zone fumbles. The answers were Mostert and Eckler. As of recording this, no one's gotten that yet, but I'm sure someone will, so we'll mark you down for whoever gets that. And I'll probably just give, a point to each person who gets it. Just gets one of them. Today's stat. Which tight end caught only 1 of 9 red zone targets in 2019? So that would indicate that this player got pretty unlucky with touchdowns, and we should expect, on average, his touchdowns to increase this season. So only caught 1 of 9 red zone targets in 2019. 4 tight ends, remember that. All right, let's start with some risky running backs. And so the honor for riskiest running back in my model goes to none other than Chris Thompson, ranked 70th out of 70 running backs. Pretty easy to see why, though. I mean, he's got a long injury history. He is changing teams. The team he's going to isn't that great of a scoring offense. He's turning 30. He's never had more than 68 carries in a season, never been over 6 touchdowns. He's got no real path to a big workload because even if Fournette were to go down, Armstead would take over the early down work, so his role wouldn't even change. And I know a lot of you are like, why are you even bringing it up? Well, first, because I wanted you to know who got last in the model. Always interesting to see that. But then also, I do see some people hyping him up a little bit. They're saying like he could be a really nice option later in drafts, and people are going to look at his game logs, or I guess more his end of season stats. They're going to see a lot of seasons of like 35 to 50 receptions. They're going to be like, maybe he could be really nice in like half PPR and full PPR leagues. But this isn't the type of player that we're spending a late round pick on, not only because the risk is high. I mean, we don't care as much about that if we're getting that upside, but it's not there. He's only a third down back and on a mediocre offense. That's really it. He has no path to carries, and with that, no real path to touchdowns because of the offense. So you're never really going to be able to rely on him on a championship team, and since that's always our goal is to build a championship team, why draft a player we know we're never going to start on that team? So Thompson is a no for me. The next running back, I'm going to cheat a little bit, and I'm going to talk about 3 running backs, and that's just an entire backfield. I'm going to talk about Adrian Peterson, Darius Geis, and Antonio Gibson because they rank 2nd, 4th, and 7th as the riskiest running backs, respectively. So all of them in the top 7 riskiest kind of makes sense, though, because we don't know the roles that really any of them are going to have, and basically all of them come with elevated injury risk. I'm going to go in order of ADP, so we're going to talk about Geis first. Coming off the board as like roughly the running back 30, usually in that late 6th to early 7th round right now. For me, at that ADP, I do think that he is worth the risk. I've gone on record saying that you could realistically consider him in the late 1st to early 2nd round if you were guaranteed 16 fully healthy weeks. And I'm going to stand by that because it's the truth. Now, that's impossible. You could never actually do that. But if for only him, you turned injuries off, you said, guaranteeing you, he's not even going to have a single day on the injury report. He's going to be fully healthy for the entire season. You're eliminating all risk with him. Yeah, of course I'm going to take him that early because I know what the upside is. But you can't guarantee me that. Because, if you could guarantee me a fully healthy 16 weeks from any player in the first probably 3 rounds, they'd immediately become an early first-round pick. That's how important it is to hit early. Because we know all these guys have upside, but they have that risk of getting hurt. If you eliminate that, yeah, you're going to take them really early. And don't for a second think that his ADP has anything to do with his talent. It has nothing to do with that. His ADP is 100% the injuries because he's barely played any games in his first 2 seasons. But what do I say about risk? Avoid it at all costs early and then slowly introduce more and more of it as you exit the 4th round. So you get into the 5th, 6th, 7th rounds, you're getting more and more risk and you're really only looking for upside. Well, no one in that range has as much upside as Geis. So I'm fully on board taking him at that ADP, and I kind of expect the ADP to go up a bit. Next, we move on to Peterson, coming off the board in roughly the 13th round. He just turned 35, but is coming off 2 consecutive seasons of 225 touches, which is pretty impressive. Now over 3,000 carries in his career. That's crazy. Although he's been less efficient in recent years, he hasn't been all that bad. My issue with Peterson is the upside. Even with Geis going down these last 2 years, he's only been averaging 9 to 10 points a game because he doesn't really catch passes. He's not on that great of an offense. So even if you drafted Peterson late and Geis got hurt again, like I said, you're only getting like 9 to 10 points, and that's not really that great. Plus this season they drafted Gibson, so the receptions definitely won't be there this season. And since Geis isn't going to realistically cost you that much more, I know it's like a 6-round difference, but the hit rate once you get the 6th, 7th, 8th round, the hit rate is practically the same for running backs in all these rounds anyways, so it's not that massive of a difference. So I would rather just try and target Geis. If you don't get him, I would look elsewhere. As for Gibson, he's fine right now if you want to take a shot in that 15th round range, but I can almost guarantee you people are going to hype him up this summer, and I think that's a mistake. He has basically no path to an early down work. He'd need both Geis and Peterson to get hurt, so I guess that could happen, but you don't want to be drafting players who need 2 running backs to get injured. The most touches he's ever had in a college season was 71. Still a bad offense. He's a rookie. He has above average injury concerns. And like Thompson, there's no path to you starting Gibson on a championship team this season. I think in a few years that could change. So maybe target him in Dynasty. But this season, I don't think he's really worth picking up late because you're extremely likely to just never use him and drop him in like week 3. And I at least want someone who has a chance to be used. So I don't, especially when people hype him up, because I really think he could climb to like the 12th or 13th round. Next player is Tevin Coleman, and he comes in as the 8th riskiest pick. And I do think there's a chance he gets hyped up a little bit, but right now he's going the 9th round, and I feel like that's a very fair price tag. I don't think it's a steal. I don't think it's a bad pick. I think it's fair. If he's there in the 9th round and you want to take him, take him. 27 right now, so that's not too old for running back. And obviously the 49ers are a tier 1 offense, especially for rushing. The risk is mostly attributed to his injury history and being the backup. He has an extremely high injury risk, and Mostert is very likely to open the season as the starter. Also, even though Breed is gone, they do still have McKinnon and Wilson. We know McKinnon has struggled mightily coming back from the torn ACL, and that Wilson mostly played behind Coleman in 2019. So the most likely scenario is still that Coleman is the backup, but gets some work every week. And in the 9th round, I'm fine taking on that risk since we know what sort of upside the lead running back has in this offense. So if Mostert got hurt or wasn't performing, Coleman would have a lot of upside. So I don't consider him a target. Like, I'm not going out of my way to take him, but I think that if you don't like your other options and you're like, well, I guess Coleman, is that fine? Yeah, I think that's fine. NyHeim Hines, a very interesting discussion. cracks the top 15 riskiest picks, at least at running back position, almost entirely because of volume concerns. We know for a fact that Mack and Taylor are ahead of him for carries. So, I mean, it's possible he sees closer to 20 carries than the 52 he had last season. And it also means he's got no path to a 3-down workload. And our job with him is to consider how much we care about that. Because usually, like I've already said twice in this video, if a player doesn't have a path to getting those early down carries, we're avoiding them, right? But do we do that with Hines? Because he might be like the one special case. We know the Colts really like him because, I mean, he's a good receiving back. But we also know this offense is going to feature a lot of screens. We know it's going to be a good offense. There's going to be plenty of touchdowns to be scored. We know that at least on those 20 carries, his line is going to be really good, and they're not going to be expecting the run. So he's going to have a high yards per carry more than likely. And there's a chance that they do use him in some red zone packages because of how much Rivers likes to throw to the running back. And if you think back a few weeks ago, maybe it was 1 or 2 weeks, I posed the question in a mock draft. I said, what if NyHeim Hines is Austin Eckler from last year, except for the rushing? So what did Eckler do last year if you remove 132 carries? So you just make sure Eckler had no carries on the ground. Where does he finish in half PPR on only the receptions? It was the running back 16. And again, that's with no carries. So that is in Hines' range of outcomes. So going in the late 13th round, that has to be someone we're considering, right? I mean, we just saw Eckler, as for most of the season, not the lead back, not getting many carries. Okay, eliminate all of them. He's a high-end running back too. I mean, that's how powerful receiving can be, even in half PPR leagues. Now, do I think that's going to happen? No, I think that's the less likely outcome, but it's in his range of outcomes. And so going in the late 13th round, if you can finish as a running back too, I'm cool with that. So something to consider. Possible that his ADP rises, but it can't go up that much because people are going to be drafting Taylor, people are going to be drafting Mack, and people are going to know he's the third guy. Probably not going to take him as high. Last player is Damien Harris, and this one should be, pretty obvious that he would have high risk. Not only is the Patriots' offensive system probably going to change, but we have no idea what the volume is going to look like, given that he had 4 touches in his rookie year, right? I mean, if he had at least like 100 touches, maybe we'd be like, all right, maybe that's the floor. Dude touched the ball 4 times. So we have no idea how many carries and receptions he's going to have if they use him, or even if they're going to use him this season. But I am okay with this pick. For sure would not be targeting him late, and I would much rather take him in Dynasty. But in the final round of your draft, if you just really don't like your other options, you've already taken, all the positions we talked about, like your quarterback, you've taken your tight end, maybe you reached on a defense and you're in the final round and you're like, I just want an upside running back. Harris does fit the bill for that, because even though he only had 4 touches, they do really seem to like him. Everything that comes out of the camp is like, no, we know we didn't use him that much last season, but we like his talent. We are going to use him at some point. So I do expect him to have some sort of expanded role this season. And he would be the guy if Sony were to go down. So he does have that sort of upside. So those are my thoughts on a bunch of risky late round running backs. If you want to see my take on every player and exactly where I rank them, check that out at our website, thefantasyfootballadvice.com. That's the end of this one. Hope you all did enjoy. If you did, how about hitting that like button? And how about subscribing to the channel if you're new? Thanks for watching.